Random art tips and rambles with Rafi.
Hola, you amazing artist. It's Rafi.
And Klee.
If you're watching this on YouTube, what you are going to get this week is a compilation of art creation videos because we started the new year and we've been so busy with things that I haven't been able to record myself working on something. So these are different projects and things that I've worked on over the last few years. So enjoy that during the podcast. Welcome to 2020. Yay! So it's the new year and we are starting off our new year video schedule, media schedule thingy with this podcast, I guess.
Yeah.
We're going to start off this year with a great question for anybody deciding to be an artist and starting off the year. And
for anybody trying to do anything.
Yeah, basically for anybody trying to do anything in any year. But considering that we're starting off this decade, let's see what kind of question we're going to start off this decade with.
Our great question comes from Sven Wendish.
Hello, Sven.
Hi, Sven. I just found your videos. Maybe you could make a video about believing in oneself. I'm at the beginning of my art career, but there is much fear inside and outside. I wish you the best.
That is a great question.
Believing in oneself. Boy.
I mean, that right there is the culmination of what it takes to be able to do anything in life, is the ability to be able to believe that you are able to do it.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Believing in yourself is important.
It is, and I'm really excited to talk about this topic because believing in yourself can be so vague and abstract. Like, what does it even mean to believe in yourself? What does that look like? What does that feel like?
Yeah, that is one of those things that people are like, just believe in yourself. And you are left with this very vague, very mysterious thing. It's like, what does it even mean to believe in yourself? What are you saying? What are you telling me that I need to do? Just talk to me about it.
Right.
Luckily, I've got about 9 things specifically that I look at as far as making it very clear to me what it means to actually believe in yourself.
Cool. Let's hear them.
So the first one is don't judge yourself for your current situation. That's pretty important. Like, you look at where you're at, but don't sit there and judge yourself for where you are. I think one of the things that held me back in the day when I wanted to be an artist, but I wasn't pursuing it, was the fact that I looked at my life and I looked at where I was and how far apart from that kind of lifestyle I was. It was discouraging. Mm-hmm. And because I found myself in that position where it seemed almost virtually impossible to start an art career, I blamed myself for being there and felt like a victim to my own life's decisions that led to that place. And I think it wasn't until I was able to make peace with where I was in life, what my life looked like in that moment, to really be able to stop blaming situations, stop blaming myself, stop blaming other people, stop blaming situations and circumstances, and actually look at what my options were and what it was that I could do to change my life. And in taking control of the way that I felt about my life, I was able to have a little bit more control over the way I felt about myself and the decisions I had made, realizing that the decisions I made didn't define me as who I was. It was the decisions that I was willing to make now that really mattered.
I think that's super important, and it's something that I've tried to train myself to do over the years, because I definitely could blame myself and feel sad and complaining and whatever. And, my first example actually of people who excel at not doing that are astronauts. Or at least the way that astronauts are portrayed in movies.
Yeah.
They're trained to, instead of complaining or freaking out about a situation, to assess what's around them and come up with solutions. And all the people that I really admire are the people that just assess the situation and come up with a solution.
That's brilliant, because that's all you can really do. You have no idea what the situation is going to be that's going to come at you. But if you are assessing the situation from a place of victimhood, because you are looking at your past and you're looking at the situation that you're in and you're just sitting there blaming yourself or blaming someone else, you don't get anywhere.
Right.
If you're looking at it and you're assessing, okay, well, I'm here now. what can I do to get myself out of this situation? And I think that that's ultimately what really matters. And as far as like believing in yourself, you have to believe in your ability to be able to get you out of that situation, not just sit there and blame yourself for being in that situation in the first place.
Which I guess means trusting yourself to make a decision.
Yeah, and that brings us to the second one, which is trust your awesome self. And, you know, this is by far the most important one because everything you need is within you. But if you don't trust yourself, you're not going to find it.
That's true.
Your life, your career as an artist, or whatever choices it is that you make in life, these are the choices that you are making for yourself. And so the best person to come up with what to do is you. Unfortunately, a lot of times we don't trust ourselves, so we look for answers somewhere else. We ask other people to tell us what it is that we should do, instead of trusting what's inside of us in the first place.
And the truth is, no one knows what you should do. And how many times have you known in your guts what the right answer was and you just weren't listening?
Yeah.
And then hindsight, you realize, oh, my first instinct was correct.
Yeah, exactly. How many times does that happen when you're like choosing something, when you're picking something, and then you start analyzing like all the ones and you realize the first one that you looked at was the one that you should have gone with in the first place?
It happens all the time.
Yeah. So the third one is talk to yourself. Have a full-on conversation with the only person out there who really knows what it is that you want. This is also going to give you an indication of how it is that you talk to yourself.
Oh, yeah. Like, are you a jerk face or are you supportive?
Yeah, exactly. It's the willingness to actually have a full-on conversation with yourself, despite the fact that people might think that you're crazy, because listen, we all talk to ourselves.
That's true.
So we are either talking to ourselves under our breath and saying some horrible shit and not paying attention, or we are having a conversation with ourselves and really evaluating what kind of relationship it is that we have with ourselves, and getting to that point where you trust that person that you're talking to. You develop a relationship with yourself. And really, the best way to do that is to have a conversation with yourself.
And you guys, Rafi is talking about a full-on audible conversation where you're actually talking out loud.
Yeah, like me. I'm a crazy person. I talk to myself, but that's also because I'm one of my best friends. So of course I'm going to have a conversation with myself. And if somebody else is telling me that I'm crazy because I'm having a conversation with myself, that to me is an indication that that person doesn't have a relationship with themselves.
Yeah, and then you'd be like, maybe you should go talk to yourself about your behavior.
The next thing, as far as like believing in yourself, is really acknowledging the wins. Acknowledge the times that you felt great in your life. Acknowledge those times where you did something spectacular. Really, really celebrate those moments where you felt good about something that you did.
This is really important.
Yeah.
Celebrating the wins is something that's so easy to just gloss over.
Oh, yeah.
And I've gotten in periods of my life, gotten in the habit of just like not celebrating the wins at all because I'm too busy or I'm too focused on blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's interesting because you could spend your life pining to get to something. And then once you get there, it almost becomes so like normal that it was going to happen that you just gloss over it and you don't see it as a mile marker or you don't see it as a win. Like, wow, I accomplished this thing. And a lot of them, people rate them comparatively to other people, to the other successes that other people have. So it's almost like it's not about getting out there and doing your first show and facing your fears and showing your work. It all of a sudden becomes about, well, I got to sell $1 million painting. And that suddenly becomes the goal. When in actuality, you getting out and doing your first festival and showing your work for the first time is a huge accomplishment and definitely something that needs to be celebrated. So it's all those mile markers that need to be celebrated and acknowledged, most importantly.
And in whatever way feels good to you. So like if you literally go out and celebrate, that's awesome. If you give yourself a high five, that's awesome. If you just simply acknowledge it, that's awesome too.
Yeah. Yeah. But what is important is that you take that time to acknowledge that you're winning at life.
Yeah.
I am winning at life. If you are here right now and you are listening to this, then you are winning at life. That is the simple truth of it.
Give yourself a high five.
Give yourself a high five. Yeah, give yourself a high five because you are here and you have the ability to smile and you have the ability to make this day whatever it is that you want to make it. So the fifth one is one of my big things, like as far as believing in myself. And it's not letting fear stop you. There are so many things that I've easily put off, procrastinated on, and it was like, oh, I don't have enough time to do this thing, when in actuality it had more to do with the fact that I was afraid of pursuing it because either I was afraid to fail or whatever reasons. But I've put it off and I've put it off. My book is the perfect example of that. I've spent the last 10 years really seriously thinking about writing an art book. And it wasn't until recently that I had to consciously make it a point to face my fear and not buy into all the excuses that I was making and put it out there and put myself in a situation where I had to finish this book.
Yeah.
And if I had not done that, if I wasn't willing to face my fears and not let fear stop me, I wouldn't have a book.
Yeah, it's true. And I think if we all really get real and admit this to ourselves, fear is often the main thing that stops us.
Yeah, it is the main thing that stops us. It is the main thing that we use as an excuse to blame other people. And the fact of the matter is that you could either run from, avoid, or you could face your fear. That's it. You could avoid it, you could run from it, or you could face it. And when you face it, then it moves on. It basically transforms into something that could be very empowering. And if you run from it or you just avoid it, then that doesn't go anywhere. It just stays there. The fear just stays there and it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing until you finally face it.
I think learning to face it is crucial because you're never going to get rid of fear.
No.
Even if you are brave and you try new things all the time, there's always going to be something.
There's always going to be something. There's always going to be the next level. There's always going to be the next step. There's always going to be something that you're afraid of. And the only way that you get to that next level is by facing that fear and getting ready for the next one.
Who was it that said, feel the fear and then do it anyway? I forget, but I love that quote.
Yeah, I can't remember who said that. But yeah, feel the fear and then do it anyway. The next one is forgive and move on. So in order to really be able to believe in yourself, you have to stop blaming other people for your problems.
Oh, definitely.
You have to stop blaming other people. You have to stop blaming yourself. You have to stop blaming the weather, the dog, whatever the situation is, whatever the circumstance is. You got to stop blaming it and take responsibility and take that empowered feeling and decide that you're going to keep going despite what it is that you're feeling about that certain situation.
Yeah, and that goes back to number one of stop sitting around in puddles of muck, assess your situation, and problem solve.
Yeah, exactly. And just keep going. The next one is stay positive. In other words, stay empowered. For me, it's not so much about positivity because a lot of people have taken that word and turned it into this whole thing. It is very possible to live in positivity, but essentially what you're doing is just throwing a Band-Aid on a fear or on an insecurity or something. And whereas when you're feeling empowered, you have to really face those insecurities and doubts that you have in order to be able to get an empowered place, to be able to get to a place where you're like, you know what, I am going to do this, even though I'm afraid.
I like the word empower because I feel like empowered gives room for the full spectrum of emotions.
Yeah, because a lot of people, it's like, well, just focus on the good things. And it's like they ignore the bad things. And you can't do that. You have to face the things that you're afraid of. You have to face the things that maybe make you feel a little bit dark so that you could overcome them. If you ignore them and then they come out of the woodwork and face you, then you have no idea how to actually face those things.
Yeah, and that can be totally crippling. So allow the full spectrum of emotions, find an empowered place.
Yeah, and then make those dark emotions your bitch, basically, is what you want to do. So the next one is keep going. Obviously, I am a big proponent of just keep going. Just keep going. You're going to hit that roadblock. People are going to reject you. People are going to tell you that you suck. Things are going to go wrong. Things are going to go bad. Just keep going. The only way that you could fail at anything is in life is if you stop, if you quit. Because,
absolutely.
Yeah. Because at that point, then you've stopped, and that's where failure comes in. So it doesn't matter if it is a failure. If you failed at something, just keep going, because then it's just a work in progress.
Most definitely. If your one anchor point is that you are doggedly persistent, then you've got this.
Yeah. And finally, the last one is enjoy every single moment. The nitty gritty, the roadblocks, the good times, the wins, the fails, all of it.
The ugly cries.
Yeah, the ugly cries. Enjoy that. What is it in Dane Cook when he's like, I did my best.
I did my best.
I did my best. And he ugly cried. Yeah, just sometimes you get that good cry in there. Sometimes you just want to go outside and just scream. Sometimes you want to high five everyone. Sometimes you want to just hug somebody. All of those moments are absolutely and completely an indication that you are alive and that you are living this life.
I think it's all beautiful.
Yeah.
The ugly, the beautiful, the bright, the dark, all of it's awesome.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times what ends up happening when somebody doesn't believe in themselves is that they spend a lot of time trying to avoid those bad feelings, like the bad stuff, and because they're not sure that they could handle it. And really, when it comes down to believing yourself, it's believing in your ability to adapt and respond in a way that makes you feel empowered. And that's really what it comes down to. Because you are going to face rejection. You are going to face adversity. You are going to face things not going the right way. You are going to face all of these problems. And believing in yourself is you believing in your ability to be able to face those things and come out on top.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Or at least come out the other side.
Yeah, exactly. Come out the other side. It's the same thing that I say. Like, my self-belief is based on the fact that you could drop me in the middle of a jungle full of art critics, and I know that if you come back in 2 weeks, I will have a treehouse full of art that rises above the critics. You know, and that is a very powerful self-belief. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to get criticized. It doesn't mean that people are not going to reject my art. It doesn't mean that there aren't people out there that are just going to hate my face. It just means that I believe in my ability to be able to rise above that. And that is what believing in yourself means. Not your ability to not be rejected. Not your ability to, like, succeed. Oh, I got to believe that I could succeed. No, believe that you could fail really freaking hard and that you could pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going. That's what it means to believe in yourself.
And I have an additional 2 things to add to this that are particularly applicable if you're not accustomed to believing in yourself, or if you're having a hard time starting down that road. 2 things that I did, because when you met me, I believed in myself a little bit, but I wouldn't say I had like a strong belief in myself.
Yeah.
So the first thing was believing in yourself as a whole. If it seems abstract to you, find one quality in yourself that you can rally behind. So like one of my qualities that I could rally behind was like, I pick things up quickly and I usually excel at whatever I really put my efforts into. So I had a good track record. So I knew that, like, if I really put my focus somewhere, I'm going to excel at it. Or I am doggedly persistent. So I've got that going for me. Focus on your strengths and rally behind those. Here's what I'm good at, and I can use this to my advantage in these ways. And the second thing is trying to believe in yourself forever and ever. The end can seem also really abstract. So, like, believe in yourself today.
Yeah.
Like, I believe in myself to navigate through whatever challenges I'm facing today. It doesn't matter what challenges I'm facing a year from now, or over the course of a year, or over the course of my entire art career, or my entire life. Can I just believe in myself today, right now?
And that is actually a really, really good point, because it is overwhelming to think to yourself like, oh, you know, like because a lot of times people are thinking about the future. So they're thinking about, well, what if this happens? Like, this is going to happen. And it's not about believing yourself in a future that hasn't even been documented yet. It's about believing in yourself right now, believing in your abilities right now to do the task that is right in front of you. Don't get overwhelmed by thinking about the future. It's easy to get overwhelmed. Even when you were working on jewelry and the idea that, well, a good thing, like what if you get an order for 100 pieces and then all of a sudden you get overwhelmed.
And I don't know how to deal with that.
And you don't know how to deal with it.
Because I haven't faced it yet.
Yeah. Whereas if you actually got an order for 100 pieces, you would take care of it.
One thing at a time.
One thing at a time.
I can't tell you how many mornings I wake up, and 10 years into this almost, I ask myself, can I rally today?
Yeah.
We have a lot of things upcoming right now, and if I think about them all at once, it's very stressful. But I get up in the morning and I'm like, can I rally today?
Yeah.
Can I make it happen today? And the answer is yes, usually.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You get up in the morning and your first focus should be on, yes, I could do this today. You know, and you just take a look. And then there are some mornings where you're like, I don't know if I could do this today. And you know that it's going to take a little bit more convincing there.
Or you need to take a day off if you can't rally.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you just need to take a day off so you could get your head on right. Go take a walk. Go do something else. But whatever the case is, believing in yourself is a day-to-day, moment-to-moment exercise in having a relationship with you.
A good one.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to. Having a good relationship with yourself and being your biggest cheerleader and being your best friend and understanding that if you have failures or someone rejects you or anything like that, it doesn't have anything to do with your self-belief. It just has to do with that person. So the way that you respond to that rejection, that's what matters. That's what really matters. And the only way that you're going to respond to it appropriately is in that moment. And how it is not in the future.
In real time.
Yeah, in real time.
I want to say thank you to Sven Wendish for your totally awesome question.
Yeah, thank you, Sven. That is a great question to get the year started. Because ultimately, that's what it comes down to. If you want to be an artist and you want to make that into a career or you want to do anything, really what it comes down to is the ability to believe in yourself and understand what that means. It's not about just believing like, oh, I believe that I will succeed. It's believing that when you slam into that wall, when you face that rejection, when someone points at your artwork or at you and says, you suck, that you are able to pick yourself up and keep going. That's it. That's all self-belief is. It's not your ability to believe that you are going to succeed at everything that you do. It is your ability to believe that you are going to succeed despite the fact that things are not going to go according to plan.
They almost never do.
Nope.
Go forth and believe.
Yeah, go forth and believe, you guys, for 2020. Let's make this decade super freaking awesome. And yeah, that's it. That's it for self-belief. Obviously, this is something that we work on every single day. And for 2020, I would say if you have any kind of resolution, just make it to have an awesome relationship with yourself and really, really take a look at what it means to believe in yourself. It's not avoiding the negative things. It's the ability to be able to face them and keep going. I would love to hear what kind of resolutions you guys have for 2020, for this upcoming decade, what kind of things you do to believe in yourself. Just leave those in the comment section below. And thank you so much for listening, you guys. You guys are absolutely freaking amazing. I totally adore you. And if you like this podcast and you want to listen to more like this, just click somewhere around here to subscribe. And that's it. Say goodbye, Klee.
Good day.
Adios.